So this video is actually based off of something that I learned from a channel called Bellular News, and I think that this is very, very important and worth talking about because the EU, the European Union, could potentially kill all microtransactions as a whole, because if this is successful, it could work out very, very positively across the entire industry. So you might be like, okay, how the hell is the European Union going to actually kill microtransactions as a whole? Good question. Basically, it's because of something referred to as the Digital Fairness Act. And this personally only really sort of came to light through, again, channels like Bellular News that do excellent reporting on stuff like this. And I'll link his video in the in the description below, just to kind of, if you want like a more sort of technical, businessy explanation of the situation and things that are going on in that space. I think he does an excellent job of explaining that. But for me personally, it's more so in relation to the CEO of Supercell, Ilkka Paananen, yep, who wrote an open letter criticizing the EU authorities that he is displeased with the proposal for regulating the digital space, which also affects games. So he says, in his words, that it could kill the European game development, says the head of Supercell. And just in case if you don't know, Supercell is the company that makes Clash of Clans. So if you have built a game off the top of just purely microtransactions, without any fun aspects, if you were to remove set transactions, then you've probably got a failure of a game. So of course he's very defensive of that. But basically he criticizes the two main things. So the CEO of the guys who make Clash of Clans says that he does not like the Digital Fairness Act, which is going to be adopted in 2026, or rather at the end of 2026, and a guide prepared by the European Commission and CPC Network for developers of games with microtransactions that was released on March of 2025. So basically the idea is that both projects are aimed at protecting European consumers from dark patterns and other manipulated practices in digital products. And of course, digital products does in fact include games. For example, game developers would be required to use microtransactions more transparently by listing prices for in-game items not only in virtual currency but also in euros, allowing gamers to request refunds for such purchases. Imagine that for a moment right now, that if you were playing Genshin and you wanted to get a refund on the Genesis crystals that you paid for, which you've already turned into Primo gems, and whatever loopholes are made to kind of confuse you. Just imagine that on the box you could see the price that you're paying. You're paying 5,000 gems, and people are going to be like, oh, that's got to be like $50, and you realize it's $500 instead. Like it's very easy to kind of lose track of how much money you've paid for when it comes to certain things, unless you're actually like constantly auditing your own bank account. But that would be absolutely huge. Not just the ability to request refunds, because of course you're paying for a good or a service, which is usually not been something that is considered to be allowed in the gaming space when it comes to digital games, virtual currencies, DLCs, and whatever have you. But the fact that this is coming forward is one big thing. The second thing is just knowing how much you're paying for when it comes to these digital currencies. Again, there's so much like loopholes that are going on to try and confuse you. And when it comes to dark patterns, it's also worth mentioning things like when Diablo 4 had originally come out, if you were to pay for something in the shop, it wouldn't confirm your payment. So the payment would just go through, even though you didn't intend to pay for something, because like pop-ups just come up saying, oh, you want to pay for this thing? Oh, I accidentally hit like the confirm button over and over because I'm playing Diablo. Like, I'm not paying attention to random pop-ups that are coming up. Obviously people generally wouldn't. So that's just kind of another example of like another dark pattern that's been put for manipulative purposes to just be able to cause people to pay more money for things. And again, according to the head of the person who makes Clash of Clans, because I'm not going to say Supercell, because I really need to hammer home just how much this guy really doesn't want this stuff to go through. He says that European officials do not understand how the modern digital entertainment industry works. Their initiatives will not only fail to protect gamers from manipulation, but will also degrade the gaming experience and ultimately harm the business of local studios. Now, remember how I said earlier in the video that a bit of my my inspiration for this video actually came from Belliola News? He says something very interesting at the end of his video, which is that people are going to try and present the best argument they possibly can. And this is the Clash of Clans CEO's argument for the European initiative people, official people things. Basically, the fact that it will degrade the gaming experience and ultimately harm the business of local studios. What he is failing to mention is that it's going to degrade the experience of his game in particular and will ultimately harm his studio, because that is what they make. That is all that they make. And I think the idea of like failing to protect gamers from manipulation, like, how can there possibly be manipulation when it comes to microtransactions if there's no microtransactions at all? Does that make sense? He is putting a straw man alongside a couple of things that are going to affect him personally in an attempt to try and stop this from happening. So it's just like, again, when you really think about it and put it together, it kind of makes sense how this guy is trying to present himself, his studio, his game, and microtransactions as a whole. That being said, though, the fact that I'm talking about it the way that I am, and me trying to present this to you guys who are watching the video or listening to me on the second screen, it's worth keeping in mind that I'm also trying to present this from my perspective and my light of how I would much rather never see another microtransaction filled game ever again. I would never want to see any more microtransactions moving forward. Even if it does kill a bunch of like free-to-play games that have in-game currencies and whatever have you, that would be for the better. The only in-game currencies I want to see are those currencies you can only get in-game, if that makes sense. Because it seems like those currencies are always the ones that are most useless, and the ones that you want the most, or the ones that are the most priceless, are always the ones that are being charged for. So he says here that the guy who is a CEO of the studio that makes Clash of Clans says the mechanics of digital content, such as in-game currencies, have been integral to industry business models from the beginning. They enable companies to offer games for free to millions of players, whilst fueling innovation, job, and growth across the continent. The regulations would cause widespread collateral damage to one of Europeans' technology success stories, says the man himself. Now, he is also failing to mention that one of Europe's biggest technology success stories is his own game. Again, it's just kind of like putting things together at this point. And again, I think I already said it just previously, but the fact that he says that it's integral to the business model from the beginning is very, very difficult to stomach, given that microtransactions have only been a thing since late 2000s when the iPhone came out. They had some really good iPhone games and things like that on the mobile platform, but then that's when microtransactions started really seeping in, giving people games for free, and basically the whole idea of the race to the bottom. Well, that's certainly now affected, of course, the PC and console market space as well, in addition to the fact that mobile is just like the worst place to be when it comes to all of this as well. It's all well and good to provide a free game to millions of people, but keeping in mind that there are lots of people who probably shouldn't even be playing games, to be completely fair. And I think that having a price for a game is certainly a way of stopping people, because keeping in mind that we do have stuff like Fortnite, and more specifically I was thinking of Roblox actually. The fact that kids could just jump into Roblox and then just, I don't know, get bothered by a bunch of adults who also can freely access and play the game as much as they like as well. So there is that part of it too. I feel like there's a lot of benefits that would actually come from not having microtransactions. The removal of the free-to-play element of games, that people should just pay to play games. Yes, kids will have to ask their parents for money to buy a game. And yes, parents will then have more oversight on the games that their kids are playing. Like, it all just comes full circle, it almost feels like, in a way. but we'll kind of see how that has to go. And then the CEO of Supercell, aka the guys who make Clash of Clans, pointed out that in recent years, the situation with protecting gamers' interests, especially those of children, has significantly improved. It's improved, but not great. Again, looking at something like Roblox is a huge thing for sure. It is beneficial for companies to create safe environments in games, otherwise they risk losing their audience. Well, obviously. In conclusion, the CEO of Clash of Clans says EU authorities urged EU authorities not to introduce radical rules, but to first discuss the changes with representatives of the gaming industry and to find a mutually beneficial solution, which, I mean, let's be real, the gaming industry is going to try and take an arm and a leg out of this at the end of the day. But those are what my thoughts are in the comment. Those are my thoughts on the situation. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel, and actually mention in the comments below, what do you guys think? What do you feel, where your head is at, this whole presentation style of how the CEO of the company that makes Clash of Clans is presenting himself in like this way that, you know, it's going to hurt other people, but it's more specifically going to hurt him as much, if not more so, than other companies. I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say about this in the comments below. But I think that if, say, for example, they were to get rid of microtransactions, I think that the video game bubble would almost certainly burst, because the amount of money that is being thrown around in the video game space is crazy huge, and it's because of microtransactions. So again, there's also an economic factor to this as well. It's crazy, man. But yeah, with all that being said though, like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel. I'm aiming for 500 subs by end of the year. And with all that being said, I do upload every day, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.